This is the Draft Guys podcast with Peyton and Niko coming at you live with the Philadelphia Eagles 3-round mock draft. We're looking at the free agents on screen. Pete, on what stands out to you?
Yeah, Tariq Woolen was by far the most important free agency signing. I think it was really important to retain Jordan Davis and Dallas Goedert. I think those are two of their priorities. So three really good players overall. I also think Hollywood Brown can be a sneaky impact guy for them this season.
We'll see ultimately what they can do. They're going to have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds of this mock draft, if you will. And the first one will be in that middle range part of the first round, really towards the later part. Kind of one of those bubble teams, the 23rd overall pick. Okay, so
Mm.
we got some guys on the board.
Oh
For
yeah.
me, the needs, defensive end, tight end, wide receiver, safety. But I wrote down next to them BPA because that's what the Eagles always do. So on the board, I see Caden Proctor. I see Monroe Freeland. Two very tough guys. I see Kenyon Sadiq. Wow. I don't think we've mocked Kenyon Sadiq yet to the Eagles. That could be really interesting and cool. Other than that, I'm not gonna go crazy. Peter Woods did fall a
Was.
little bit. He could play is there in that the 3-4, so he could kind of play two spots technically, not just that nose tackle, but also a defensive end, if you will, defensive tackle also. Pete, are you leaning towards a player?
Yeah, Monroe Freeling being here and having the opportunity to let him sit behind Lane Johnson as he wraps up his professional career is like I mean, you cannot ask for a better scenario. And with the importance of that position, arguably, I'd say, the second or third most important position in football is left tackle. To have such an athlete be there, that's someone that needs some developing, and having Lane Johnson be able to develop him, it doesn't get any better than that. To be able to take that at 23 is incredible. I think Howie in this situation would invest in the future and take I think a balance of BPA and how do I sustain this team for the years to come.
All day long. We're going to put in the pick. Monroe Freeling going to go to the Eagles at 23. We'll move to the pick number 54 for this Eagles team that comes up, and we'll look and see what they got ultimately on the board. Okay. Ooh, okay. Kristen
Ooh,
Miller is on the board. You
yeah.
love that. Jadarian Price also here. Some of the usual suspects for these guys. We'll look individually here. Max Clare, like a Trig, some notable guys. Wide receiver, maybe. Zachariah Branch. We
Branch.
like Zachariah Branch at the
Yeah.
spot always. Jadarian Price, someone to note. Um, Edges, no. Linebacker, I don't think they really need that. They could always add a corner. Safeties are kind of the same. Pete, what are you thinking here?
This is tough because I think say I've always been a little bit skeptical of the Eagles Saquon situation. I think that clock is ticking faster than people want to admit. And you saw that last year. He was not the same player he was in his first season with the Eagles. And it's just him in that room. They don't have a deep running back room. They don't have a guy behind him that they feel confident giving a workload to. And having Jadarian Price here, a guy, I think that not only can be your RB1 on the long term, but also knows how to be an impactful RB2 sitting behind Jeremiah Love. I am tempted by Branch. I'm tempted by Christian Miller. I think they've done a fantastic job. Howie has always prioritized that defensive tackle position, always. But they brought back Jordan Davis. And I think Price is the pick here. I think he's up there with BPA. I think he is BPA. He is the highest graded player on my board at this position. And um, I think this would work. I think this would be awesome seeing Price and Barkley in the same backfield.
Yeah, let's do it. We're going to put in Jadarian Price here, 54 to the Eagles. We'll move on to their next pick, which is not too far behind. It'll be at number 68. Kristen
Oh,
Miller still is on the board.
still
Lee Hunter is
there.
also on the board too. Got some really good defensive tackles. Zachariah
Range.
Branch is here too. Um, Very interesting to see how low TFSN is on Zachariah Branch. I mean, the usual suspects as we will. What comes to mind, P. Dunn? Their next pick is at 98, so they're going to have a while.
Yeah, I think we take Branch here. I think especially if AJ Brown is on the trade block the way that it's rumored he is, and I don't think I don't know if he makes it past draft night. I definitely don't think he makes it to the beginning of the season, and I certainly don't think he's there for a playoff push. You're going to have someone to throw passes to outside of Devontae Smith, and Zachariah Branch can absolutely do that. He complements Smith well, and AJ Brown well. If you do retain him for the long term, all three of those guys can play together. Feels weird to double up weapons on weapons, but I think he's a position of need. A third receiver is absolutely necessary in this offense, and he's also BPA on my board right now. So I think it's a great pick. I mean, I absolutely think this would be an awesome pick for them at this range.
Yeah, we've mocked him before at pick number 23. So we're definitely going to take him here. We'll go move on to this final pick for this Eagles team. It'll be number 98. And we'll look at what's on the board. I don't think they need corner tempting there. I do see a player, Malachi Lawrence, is on the board, and there is a clear discrepancy between the next best player. He's by
Yeah.
far going to be BPA. Looking at what's here, we'll look really quickly through some of these positions. Raridon is here.
Raritan's
We've mocked
there.
him there. We've mocked him there.
Ooh.
Really like that, but that would be three skills in a row, and they
Yeah.
haven't done much in the defense. I
Mm,
think it's Malachi Lawrence. I mean, it's just like they need a defensive end. I know he can play outside linebacker or defensive end. Like it's another BPA situation. I mean, all those defensive tackles that we saw on the board are now gone.
yeah.
What do you think if he done?
I think you're right. You haven't really taken an immediate impact guy, or you haven't taken anybody on the defense, much less an immediate impact guy. And so I think Malachi Lawrence is probably the pick. I like Raritan in the Eagles offense because I think he needs to sit for a year before he's fully ready to be a tight end one. And he can do that behind Goddard. And I think he's a monster blocking in that system. Um, Lawrence, you never really got to develop, not yet. You haven't yet gotten the development out of Jalen Hunt you were looking for, and Lawrence can kind of come in and probably be about where Jalen Hunt is right now, if not a little better. So I think you draft that, you get him into that rotation. You always need more edge rushers, and I think they get one here in Malachi Lawrence.
Yeah, we're gonna put that pick in. That's gonna conclude this 3 round mock draft. This is what we see: Monroe Freeling, Jadarian Price, Zachariah Branch, and Malachi Lawrence. What a draft from an NFL team that always drafts well. Pete, on thoughts?
Yeah, this is incredible. I mean, you get the two instant impact offensive guys, the guys that are going to come in and get touches every game all season and be absolute monsters. And then you have the long-term play. You get your left tackle of the future. And to say that he's going to be a solidified offensive tackle of the future, you don't get to say that. And so I almost it to say there is no perfect situations, no bulletproof situations, but Monroe Freeling sitting behind Lane Johnson feels like a pretty safe bet. And so to have that at such an important position is pretty awesome.
Love this from the Eagles. If you're interested in videos like this, check out Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify podcasts for more information. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.